The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show. I'm sorry, my mic got up.
Is this better? Hopefully that's better. Mr. Som.
Mike's better. Huzzah!
Happy Thursday, everybody. Literally, as we were like, the intro video was about to end, I just kind of bumped it slightly, and this cable is so loose, or so unstable, I mean, it just kind of, I was like, no, this is bad, because when I come on, I'm going to be muted. So thankfully, I didn't mute myself to start the show. We'll save that for later. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Just a classic Magic Mike opening there. Something's got to go wrong. You got to get a new cable, dude. I mean, it's been what, months that we've been having this problem?
It's not, I don't know what the issue is. Listen, it's probably user error. Let's be honest. I appreciate you trying to blame the cable. It's probably user error here. And right before we came on, you were talking about how great the one horse was doing at Gulfstream today. The
one post had a day. I think it won 5 of the 9 races on the day, including every single price that came home was basically a one horse today. So if you use the one, you would have won every tournament on horse players, every qualifier if you just used the one horse.
So what Mike Somich, the tournament expert, is telling you is tournaments on Fridays, play all the 2s, Saturday, play all the 3s, and so on.
I wish I had listened to the one strategy. I had a bunch of these ones, and I didn't use any of them in tournaments. It was just kind of wild. Like, what am I doing? Anyway.
Well, we know what we're doing. We're talking about Gulfstream Park's late pick 5 on Saturday. And speaking of Gulfstream, we should lead off with this, Mike. We both talked to each other about it before the show started. It's raining cats and dogs down there, and they're trying to rain on Dr. Miranda's parade. She's down there to get her honeymoon started, and it's just all sorts of rain. But the problem, not just for Dr. Miranda and Kurt, but the turf races. Like, we've got this 2-mile turf race that if it comes off, and likely will, it's now 1 mile and 5/8 on the synthetic. At least we're not going to the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you got to be aware of. We were off the turf today at Gulfstream. It was on synthetic. Now, one of the other things is this is one of the reasons why they put the synthetic course in at Gulfstream. For everyone who's talking shit about the synthetic course, you don't get nearly as many scratches. And that's what we saw today. Only a couple horses scratched out of each of those races today. So it was still fairly good fields and good betting races. I would expect everything's off the turf all weekend because it rained today. It's raining tomorrow. It's raining on Saturday. So I handicapped this Saturday card for synthetic with the expectation that we're going to be there. I'll mention one horse that would really change if it was on the turf, and that's in the last race. But other than that, to me, this was a pretty similar synthetic and turf handicap. Again, we've talked about this before, but the main difference is synthetic, you're looking for more closers. On the turf, you want more speed horses. So you like, obviously the horse I did not include is a speed horse that I would play on the turf and would avoid on the synthetic.
Well, let's try and beat the rain at least till for this one. Let's get into the late pick 5 Saturday, December 16th at Gulfstream Park. Riders up! God bless Equibase. Literally 30 seconds ago, the odds just repopulated here. Here we go. The first leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park, Saturday, December 16th. Race 7 has 7 males 3 and up, which have never won 2 lifetime sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. They're in for 35K tags. Where'd you go on top?
I went with your single. So I'm actually going to let you talk about this one because you decided to single here. I went too deep, so you can kick us off.
The nice thing about singling a pick 5 is if you miss it in the first leg, just roll that pick 4 right back. It's all the same. Yeah, top pick. Boy, these odds are not going to be fun, and this is why I have a $1 ticket that's going to be $72. I'm going to single the number 2 Practico. This horse will probably be 1 to 5, right? He's even money here on the morning line, and he should be well under that. He looks like Lone Speed, drew an inner post. He gets the upgrade of a lifetime from Sonny Leon to Irad Ortiz, takes a major class drop. He runs for a tag for the first time. Every time form dirt speed figure has improved over the last one that he had. So I like that. The only concern I really have with this is we talked about the rain. This horse's worst race by far was in the slop. It was last time out. However, a couple caveats. That race was also the first time this horse started after a 3-month break. It was at 7 furlongs and is at the allowance level. So now we're not doing the 3-month break. We're at 6 furlongs, which is better for this horse. And we're 35K claimers, so should be a much better spot for the 2. Practico, what are his odds going to be? Is 1 to 5 real? Like, that's really what he's going to be?
Yeah, he's going to be a very, 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 very short price. I didn't realize you singled this horse.
Yeah.
I thought you singled the other horse because this was not my top pick. I was so confused when you were making your case too, because I'm like, that's wrong. That's not correct.
Well, your top horse is, if I was going to go too deep, is the other one I would have used. So it's
Yeah,
funny, but yeah, we saw this the same way. Almost.
Yeah, you're right on everything with Practical. That 7 furlongs to me was one of the big issues. I'm not sure it was the slop. I think it was more the distance than anything else. And you mentioned the layoff, so don't disagree with you there. Practical Joke, generally a very good horse sire in the slop. So it seems like this horse should like the off track, if that's what you get, should be the controlling speed. But there is quite a bit of other speed signed on in here. And I went to the 5-horse Maptitude here as my top pick. First off the layoff here for Terry Pompey, 25% first off the layoff. Love the work on December 8th. Was a bullet work, 5 furlongs, 59.3. So I think this one's ready to roll. And this is a pretty big class drop when you look at what this horse has been taking on. Consistently improved going through the maiden special weight. Ended up winning on July 7th, then jumped into for 75,000, which was over the head of what this horse really should have been in for. I thought still ran well in that spot. Comes back at 6.5 furlongs, did not run well that race, but now we're getting the break and we're getting what I think is a significantly easier field here as well. The pace, the way I think this sets up, just plays right into Maptitude's hands. I think you're going to have 2 or 3 horses go to the front, and Maptitude sits the trip and is able to sit right behind the 2 horse and the other speed in here and get first jump. Also like the price at 9-2, much better than I like the price at what I believe, it's going to be like 2-5 on Practico. So I'm going to take a little bit more of a shot, see if we can get the 5 home here to start this off. But I'm going 5-2 because I do think the 2 is pretty logical in this spot as well.
And it's also worth noting that race 2 back for Maptitude, I should say, finished 4th behind Nautical Star. It was the first start after breaking the maiden, finished ahead of Practico. So that was that 7 furlong sloppy race that I was a little concerned about, but hoping 6 furlongs is good. And like I said, Mike, this is the other horse that I looked at. I mean, this is not a good group of horses. The one broke the maiden last out for 25K tag at Tampa. It now jumps up to 35K at Gulfstream Pass. Yeah. The 3 huge class jumped to 35K. We were against 12K the last 3 starts. It's also a small barn that owns every single horse that they have in it. I wanted to like the 4. 0-9 since the trainer claimed out of the debut win. That's not good. Nope. The 6, not fast enough to go with the 2. Got a long layoff in the 7. Like the 7 started great and then went to a stakes and just like everything went away from the horse. It's really sad to see because this horse looked like the 7 had some talent, but oof.
Yeah, the 7 really is the only other one that you're like, well, maybe I could make a case here. And I just
the other Pompey
at 4-1, I can't make the case, right? Like if that horse is 20-1, okay, let's talk about it a little bit. If I was going to make a case for someone, it would be the 6 who's 20-1. But the problem is Vasquez isn't there, and Yates usually, if the horse is ready to go, it's Vasquez, and Vasquez is on 3 for a trainer who's never ridden before, who is 0-4 for the year. Like, so to me, that's a detriment to the 6. You could take a shot on the 1 and say the light bulb came on if you wanted, but you would still think you're going to need to improve quite a bit to beat the 1 and the 5, or the 2 and the 5 here, who seem like they're the class of the field. And you're getting the right price on the 5, and that was really why I ended up going there. But yeah, I guess you could say other Pompey to the 7, but again, 4-1 is the wrong price on the 7. Just because I can't get past those last 3 starts, which are just absolutely atrocious. There's talent there. It's just, do you think that the switch is just going to magically get flipped in this spot? And are you willing to take a price shorter than the 5, who has been running better than the 7, that switch is going to flip?
Yeah, it's just too many things to try and have happen. Rodney says, I love the synthetic surface, killing it at Turfway. I hope you cashed in. What was it the other night? That person or that ticket was like $256,000 or something. It was over $200,000 is what that paid. So maybe you've done that. But if you like synthetic, Rodney, guess what? Race 8's probably going to be on the synthetic because we're scheduled to go a mile on the turf. This is a dozen 2-year-old maiden fillies. Scheduled to go a mile on the turf, like I said, but if it goes to the synthetic, it'll be 1 mile and 70 yards. I'm trying to beat the favorite here, the number 1 Kalleward at 2-1, but where'd you go on top?
Well, before we do that, I've already gotten 2 texts about this. I don't know if you see my joker there.
Yeah.
No, I did not get a tattoo. So my daughter now really likes the tattoos that you can put on, and she's a fan of superheroes. And that we found this arcade that has DC tattoos, and she just wanted a Wonder Woman one. Okay, and she got Batgirl last time, and so we ended up getting 3 more, right? And she got another Batgirl, but so she gave that to her best friend, and then we got the Joker, we got Harley Quinn, and we got Wonder Woman, and she didn't want the Joker one, and so she's like, Dada, you can put the Joker one on. So not a real tattoo, just a little rub on one, but yeah, we got a little Joker rocking on the arm right now. So that I've gotten
we're not
2 texts about this already.
We can't be forearm tattoo buddies.
I
guess we are. I'll count it.
I mean, I appreciate the spot. Like I've never had like even a drawn tattoo. I've never been that guy, and so I'm like, this isn't so bad. I could go for this, right? I don't mind the placement. I like the idea there. So, yeah, I would maybe I'll have to rock a fake tattoo more often on the show. Anyway, top pick here. No, I didn't put the one on top here, although I respect the heck out of the one. I mean, if this was on turf, the one's to me first or top pick with a bullet. But I did not handicap this for turf because I don't think we're going to be on turf. Just look at those last 3 races. Those are all group stakes in Ireland, in France, and the horse ran very, very well in that spot. And to me, one of the big parts was the horse was forwardly placed in each of those races. So the one's got some speed on the rail. Jose is willing to take them out. So I think if we are on turf, I'll actually use the same 3 either way. But the one would be upgraded to my top pick if we end up on turf. But since I think we're going to be on synthetic, I am going to go to the number 6 horse in this spot, Loristan, who ran once at Keeneland, was showing some good turn of foot, had a brutal start, had to go 4 wide on the second turn, never really had a chance when you go back and you watch the race. The style sets up well for this horse to run well on synthetic because you want to be coming from off the pace. The sire, who I'm not even going to try and pronounce, is just as good on synthetic as turf. And you do have a lot of synthetic races over in Europe. I don't know if people realize that, but there is quite a bit of synthetic running over there. So you do get a pretty good sample size from these European sires. Love the fact that Sias picks up the mount for Brendan Walsh, who has had one of those years. It's been very, very good. Started out the meet so far at Gulfstream 0 for 5, but has a 2nd and 2/3. So the horses have still been running well. You got a couple good works, and you've got synthetic works. And specifically the one 6 back at Turf Paradise goes 4 furlongs and 47 and 4. I'm sorry, Turfway Park goes 4 furlongs and 47 and 4. Tells you the 6 actually likes the synthetic track, that it won't be a problem to be able to transition over. So at an 8-1 price, give me the number 6 on top with Luis Saez.
Same top pick for me. I love Brendan Walsh, 2nd-time maidens, and when they're turf. He debuted at 2 turns. You love that. And man, that Keeley, he was a 4-1 third choice. The 2 favorites were 3-1, and he was 4-1 debuting. That's Brendan Walsh, and that's to show what to your point. Brendan Walsh has been having a really good fall and winter here. Blew the break, like you said, but no fault of T-Gaff, and the horse showed interest in running. I like that as well. She was trying in the stretch, so that was good. We agree on 2 horses here. Let's talk about the other one. Number 7, St. Susan, 10-1 here. T-Gaff takes them out for Christophe Clement, who's 33% winners, 67% in the money together in the last year. So a really good combo of T-Gaff and Christophe Clement. Clement, by the way, currently connecting at 28% winners and 65% in the money in the last year at Gulfstream Park. So he's doing pretty well with or without T-Gaff. The sire and the dam for St. Susan both won the debuts at 2. The dam later won multiple graded stakes, both on turf and synthetic. And I think that is a key thing for a 2-year-old debuting on either turf or synthetic and going along. So I think all signs point to St. Susan being a very talented filly. It's probably why you used her too.
It is, and when you dive into the sire stats again for Quality Road, we all think a Quality Road is a good sire on dirt, good sire on turf. Highest percentage winners synthetic route, 17%. Tied for the highest, 2-year-olds, 17%. So you've got the pedigree here on the synthetic side that this horse is going to like it. A lot of times with Clement horses, if you think about him as a trainer, you don't think of gate to wire on the turf. You think of horses that come from the mid-pack or come from far away. Again, the style of horse that I'm looking for on the synthetic course. Love the 10-1 price. You mentioned the win early pedigree, top and bottom. That's obviously a big plus here. This was my 2nd pick in the race, so I'm 8-1 and 10-1 as the top 2 picks in this spot. I like them both quite a bit on turf or synthetic. That's the other nice part about this. I like the 6 more on synthetic. I like the 7 more. I'm fine with the 7 if we're on turf.
Yeah, I agree with you on those. It's just going to be, man, if we get these prices, I like 3 horses I win here, 6-1, 8-1, and 10-1. So the last one I'll talk about is 6-1. Number 9, Hidden Presence. This for me, it's a big jockey upgrade now to Johnny V. Had a good third last out. By the way, the Lauriston race. I know Lauriston blew the break, but for Hidden Presence to run third there, I thought was a really marked improvement. She was right behind the 1-2 finishers in that race every step. And not only that, Mike, she closed the gap by almost a length on them in the stretch. So she was hustling late there. And I think she's going to get a good stalking trip. It's just going to be a matter of if she's good enough or not. And she's going to have to prove it out there. But I thought that was a big improvement in that last race for her.
Yeah, this is my fourth horse, and I only went 3 deep here. So Hidden Presence did not make the ticket for me. Another good, like, again, you think about Taproot, another good synthetic routing sire. 18% synthetic sprints, 14% synthetic routes, significantly better than turf. Only 7% turf route and 5% turf sprint. So maybe a positive for you here if we switch over to synthetic. And again, one of the reasons why this was fourth on the Johnny V upgrade, I think, is a big one here. And again, stylistically should like this synthetic course, especially if there's any pace to chase there. I don't think the middle race, which came off the turf, you saw speed. I don't think that's actually this horse's game. I think this horse wants to sit mid-pack and make a run. And another thing about the Gulfstream synthetic, being wide is not as bad of a thing as on the turf course. You see a lot of horses three path that win on the synthetic at Gulfstream. So you can win from being in the trip that I would assume Hidden Presence is going to get. Maybe Johnny V able to get too wide on one of those turns, but going to be tough to get all the way over to the rail. So I considered the 9, ended up putting the 9 in fourth for me. I was 6-7-1 here. So I am going to use the 1 just because I really respect what happened overseas. Like, those are some very good races against tougher fields than what we're most likely going to see here. One horse I think we have to talk about before moving on, Matoli Magic, the 3 horse. Irad Ortiz, Chad Brown, 5-1. Going to be used with a lot of people. The 5 horse as well with Bravo and Mott going to be used heavily. What were your thoughts on these two?
You know, I struggle with Matoli Magic because he's had some horses that I know he was a champion sprinter. He has had a couple horses who have been able to go long, and he is a half brother to Hot Rod Charlie too. So theoretically, there's distance pedigree somewhere buried in this little 5-6 furlong horse's background. But like, this horse ran 2 sprints and you didn't see really any improvement from start 1 to start 2. That's not a good sign for a Chad Brown horse. And now we're going to try a mile. It feels like he's going, well, not a sprinter, maybe a miler. And when a top trainer like Chad Brown is going, not this, maybe this, not for me.
Yeah, I was surprised because Matoli dirt routing 20% so far. Turf routing 0 for 10, does have 5 in the money finishes, and synthetic routes 0 for 1. Has not won on synthetic, 0 for 9 on synthetic. I just don't want to go against. I realize it's a small sample size still. I don't really want to go against those type of numbers when you're talking about synthetic and turf routing. Like, it doesn't seem like it's what Matoli's want to do. And now you're going to take a short price to do it. That to me seemed a little scary. Other thing, this is a speed horse, right? Like, the 3 and the 4 and the 5 really look to be the speed horses on paper. I don't want the speed horses if we were on synthetic, right? I want horses that are going to be coming from off the pace. And so that made it hard for me to get behind the 3, 4, or 5. And then on top of it, you have the Matoli routing on the turf and synthetic numbers, which are both no bueno. The 3's taking money, right? I mean, this is the second choice on the morning line. The 3 is going to be your second choice when they go into the gate, right?
Yeah. Was Chad Brown going long on turf for the first time with Irad riding? Like, that's just catnip to bettors, especially public bettors. So yeah, I get it. I don't want to use it. I do want to freaking horse racing. Pedlo was in the chat, one of our good friends, talking about the 4th race or the 8th race here at Fairground. He's like, oh, I hope we get even money on this horse, and the horse broke at even money, and then in one click went down to 3 to 5.
That's always fun. You know what? Like, I think it's so weird. Like, okay, they just had the symposium, and we're not going to go into that too much. But there was some people that put on, like, what tracks had the least late odds clicks, and not surprisingly, 1, 2, and 3 are all Naira tracks. You know why?
Because they shut it off the ADW betting, or
with 2 minutes to post, they shut off ADW betting. It's a really simple solution to avoid these monster click downs because, like, how many people are dropping 20K on the last flash at Fairgrounds? It ain't happening, right? Like, it not regularly, right? So you don't see these massive odd shifts. It would be really nice if everyone just said, okay, with 2 minutes, with 5 minutes, whatever it is, we're shutting pools to ADWs. Because then, I'm sorry, you know what I'm talking about, to the wagering
computer
systems, right?
wagering, yeah.
Because then, or to CAW. So because then you don't have these odds jumps. It's really that simple. If you just shut them down with 2 minutes, you get much more transparency on what the odds are going to be. Because if the CAWs want to get involved, they have to get involved with 2 minutes, and then you get an adjustment from the public. And you get more of a true number for the people who are walking up to the window with 2 minutes to bet. I mean, it's wild to me that this isn't just like common sense. Anyway, end rant.
Unfortunately, common sense in horse racing, not so common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Third leg of the Gulfstream Park Late Pick 5 on Saturday, December 16th, race 9, 7 males, 3 and up, which have not either never won 3 lifetime or have not won since my birthday, which would be 6 months ago on that day. So December 16th. So 6 months before, that'd be June 16th, and that is my birthday. Anyway, they're going 6 furlongs on the dirt, in for 35K tags. Where'd you go on time?
Yeah, I'm going to try and beat the 4 Celestial Gaze here. I'm going to go right to the inside and put Gangley for Peter Wilder on top here, or Peter Walder on top here. TGAF gets the mount. Huge upgrade from a jockey perspective. This is a horse that loves Gulfstream Park. 7 wins and 28 career starts. Also has 5 seconds. 5 wins for 16 starts at the distance. Has a very good numbers over a sloppy track. 2 wins, 1 second, and 5 starts. This is a horse where we're dropping in for that claiming tag for the first time since we were available last April, last June, and the optional 16, optional 20Ks. This is the first time we're in a straight claimer here, and honestly, the horse seems like it needs it. But this is a race where I think it sets up well for someone to sit right off the pace and be able to jump and win, and that's where the 3 is going to be sitting. There's a couple speed horses in here. One I'm going to talk about a little later because I am going to use one of them, but topic here is going to be the 3-horse Gangley.
Yep, fully agree. I went 2 deep here. Same top pick. You mentioned every single thing that I had written down. I only went 2 deep, and it's the other speed horse you were going to talk about, and it's the other Walder. It's the 7 Payzone at 12-1. Could be very well could be lone speed here. Probably meant to set it up for the 3 if you're looking at this. But the 7 could get loose. And if the 7 gets loose and the 3 isn't, I mean, these are 35K claimers. If the 3 is not strong enough to get there, Jose Ortiz riding, that's a huge deal. And really, the move from, this is no shot against Merton Cantermassy, but the move from Cantermassy running over his head a lot of times in New York versus going to Peter Walder at Gulfstream, that's such a huge upgrade here. And I think you really can't like underestimate that or overestimate what that's going to be. So also, fun fact about Payzone. Did you know when this horse sold at auction, $165,000 purchase, Jonathan Kinchin signed the ticket?
Really? I bet it's the most expensive Mostler horse ever. Stands for $3,500. There's probably not many going for over $165. So a couple interesting things there from Payzone. And I agree with you. Look, this horse is loose, right? There's no world where Payzone does not make the lead, and speed is a pretty good thing to have over Gulfstream Park. Horses ran okay in the mud, ran second in a maiden claimer at Laurel, and I like the trainer upgrade, the jockey upgrade, like it all kind of fits here. And this is a horse that won at Saratoga in a $50,000 allowance. I'm sorry, won at Backwooddock in a $50,000 allowance, but broke the maiden at Saratoga. It's not like we've been running at just Finger Lakes where the last race came from. And the reason you're getting 12-1 is because of that Finger Lakes race. But you got new jockey, you've got new trainer, you've got lone speed, you've got who I think is really the horse to beat. The barn is also sending this one out. So I'm going to give it a shot. And the fact that you could make an argument your speed really is the 2 Ortiz brothers. And when that happens, rarely do we see a pace duel. They always back off for each other. And the 7 is clearly going to make the lead, which means Irad probably not going to push. And if that's the case, the 7 is going to be pretty loose there. So I like the 3 and the 7 here. I'm going to go to the rail and go 3 deep in this spot, though. Give me the 1-horse Dangerous Ride here as well. This is a horse where you kind of have to dig through it to find the races that you want to point to make this horse competitive. But there are quite a few of them. And this horse won an optional $75,000 at Gulfstream Park in January of this year. And they thought that was good enough to go into the Fountain of Youth, where this horse set the pace from a bad gate and then faded pretty badly. But Saez rode him for Carlos David, both of those. Carlos David, one of those trainers who points every year toward this Gulfstream Championships meet, already has 14 starters, 3 winners, 2 seconds, and a third, clicking off at 21%. And Saez jumps back aboard here for a horse that I think sits a really nice trip. I mean, this just screams, okay, we're going to hang out on the rail, we're going to let everyone go, and then we're going to make a run when we turn for home. 6-1, I'm willing to take a little bit of a shot here with Dangerous Ride. So I'm going to go 1-3-7 to get through here.
Third up for me, my biggest concern, and it's a concern I share with another horse in the next race, is that this horse I think we might have seen the best of, and we haven't really got. This is the first break the horse has had. So coming off of a 3-month break, I'm worried about this horse's late form and what's going to happen out here. But it is Saez riding, and you could point to those 2 races that Saez rode back earlier in the year. They're pretty. I mean, even the one when he was at Churchill Downs. I mean, that's a big Churchill Downs race. Extra Neo and Federal Judge in that spot.
Yeah.
I mean, those were not bad horses. Your District was in third. He's a Romans horse, but I'm gonna say this: he's not a bad horse. So, yeah, I get it. I get why I would use Dangerous. Right? I didn't make my ticket, but third up for. I can't believe how well we saw almost everything until this last leg.
Yeah, we're quite similar here. So why didn't you use the 4 Celestial Gaze? Because I mean, this was obviously not in your top 3, not one that I'm going to use. It's a dropper. Faced Meach last time is a pretty good horse. Has faced Gaspy, Wadeburn, like Dean's Delivers again. Some pretty good horses in the back class. What led you away from Celestial Gaze here?
Not a big Danny Hertog like better supporter when it comes to the betting the races, and coming off of a 6-month break here, we haven't seen this horse since June. Irad picks up the mount, but I think that's why you're seeing 9-5. I mean, I know he's down for the 35K claiming tag, but you look back at the earlier races, was January of this year. Jose Ortiz rode, and the horse was 8-1 and finished way off the board. Like, there's nothing that excites me about this horse, really. And at 9-5, I'm like, is it just because Irad's on?
Yeah, I mean, like you could point to a couple races and say, okay, well, if we won these races, which all happened, in February, March of last year, this horse wins for fun. It's just the last 2 races don't make you win for fun against this group at 9-5. And I just at the price that we have, we're sitting here as the favorite. To me, this is one of those where you're like, look, if the 4 wins, I lose, and that's fine because you're going to get 6-5 on race day. I mean, this horse is going to go down in odds, not up, because Irad's riding and because you have winning races at Gulfstream, where if this horse is able to reclaim that form, he's dangerous. But again, it's one of those where you're like, if it happens, and so be it. I would much rather have Gangley at 5-2. I'd much rather have Dangerous Ride at 6-1. I'd much rather Payzone at 12-1. And if you're playing these pick 5s, you can't just use every favorite defensively, right? You're going to create too big of tickets, and so you have to choose which ones that you don't like, which ones you're against. And for me, Celestial Gaze is just one of those where, okay, if he wins, congratulations, way to go. Totally understand why people would bet him, just not a horse I'm going to include on tickets.
Yeah, I have 3 favorites, morning line favorites on my ticket. And one of them is that horse that's the 2 that I'm singled in the first leg. That's probably gonna be 1-5. So another reason for me, I don't want to use Celestial Gaze if I'm not in love with this horse because of the 9-5. There's my ticket's gonna have no value even at $1 at that point.
Yep. Yeah. So it's one of those where it's probably the correct favorite, but not one that's going to be bet more than its chance of winning is.
Let's move on, Mike. The penultimate leg of the late pick 5 Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 16th, race number 10, where we got 7 males, 3 and up, sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is the N2X allowance optional claiming level. Where are you going on top?
I almost singled here, and I like the favorite, and that's why I almost singled here. I like the 5 Super Chow in this spot. This is a pretty big drop. I mean, this horse has been running in overnight stakes or graded stakes for pretty much every race on the card. Had a nice win streak, lost to General Jim. We talked about that race in the Swale earlier this year. Has come back and hasn't fared as well since coming back from that break. But when you look at who's beaten this horse, it's Rivet a couple times. It's Swervin. I mean, there's legitimate reasons for this horse to have been beaten. A couple of those losses the favorite, and those would be the big concerns for me. But when you go through this and you're like, okay, well, who else can go with Super Chow? I don't think anybody. I mean, that's the big problem is that I do think the 5 gets loose here. And if the 5 gets loose, then 8-5 seems like about the right price here. So give me the 5 Super Chow on top.
I guess it depends on if the Ortiz brothers like each other that morning or not, because
it's
the 3. I could see Irad sending the 3 just to screw with his brother on the 5.
But they never do that though.
Oh no, never. They never screw with each other. No, they don't. They don't like to play with bettors' money just for fun out there.
They screw with other people together, but they don't screw with each other.
Listen, this
weird. Ortiz threesome there.
I'm just gonna let that go. But my one concern is this horse is he's been competitive and he's been in bigger stakes just throughout that turf effort. My concern with this with Super Chow is that he's the biggest break he had was that 63-day break before he went to Pimlico, and that's kind of where things kind of started going wrong. Again, he stepped up in class, but he's never really had an actual break since he started in July as a 2-year-old. And horses sometimes just need to take a break from the track. Like, we need to step away from the computer, stop working for a while. You just need a mental break. Sometimes horses need that, and I'm starting to worry that Super Chow is at that point where his talent is putting him in these races, but he's beaten 6 1/4 by Rivet and Damon's Mound. He's 4 lengths behind Damon's Mound in that last race. I'm just a little concerned. So I went 3 deep instead of singling here. But who else did you use besides Super Chow?
Yeah, I ended up going 3 deep too. I think the difference is that for the first time in a while, Super Chow is going to get the lead. Right. If you look at like when this horse was winning every race, it was making the lead at Gulfstream. Like that's a pretty good thing to do. We haven't been making the lead at Gulfstream. We're going to make the lead at Gulfstream on Saturday. I think that's a big difference there. For me, the second pick here was XY Point, the 2 horse, who's kind of the on the come up horse, if you will. Right. This is one of those horses where doesn't have nearly as many career races as the others, and you can poke some holes in this horse if you want to. Won nicely on debut. That was a very good race. Came back on $100,000 optional at Churchill. Was a heavy favorite. Didn't run that well. Faced Super Chow in the next one at Gulfstream. Got beat. Wasn't really able to contend. Takes a long break. Switches barns. And I thought ran a lot better the first time out. Not going to knock it for kind of tiring. But then kind of found the stride last time. If you go back and you watch that win in the optional 25K M1X, it was a nice stalking effort and very professional and just drew away. And that was kind of more what I was looking for and what I think this horse could be. We've got to improve a little bit off that race to be competitive with this group, but not too much. And again, I think that's the kind of trip that you want here. If you're going to beat Super Chow, you need speed and you need to then be able to pass the Super Chow, right? And like, obviously that's logical, right? But at the same time, you got to have both of those attributes. And that's what we saw last time from the 2 horse XY Point, is that we still have the speed and we can pass somebody. And you're going to have to catch Super Chow. You're going to have to do it, but you need to be close enough because you're not going to do it if you're like 20 lengths off of him. So I put the 2 XY Point in second.
And if Super Chow is having those issues I talked about where like maybe you just need a break and you can't finish these races anymore, that's why I also use the 2. Yeah, love everything about this. All the points that you made there. Gonzalez rides back for the second time. Both of his wins for the Roddy Rod barn were either on this horse or the 1 horse, which I don't know if he got off or if Luis Saez was like, hey, I need a ride, and he gave him the 1. But I also used the 1 because it is actually the favorite of the 2 Roddy Rodriguez horses in here. Last time Luis Saez rode the number 1 Avant Glory, horse beat Florida Breds by 5.5 lengths over the same course and distance. Now, Florida Breds, slightly different situation here. Super Chow, much tougher, but this horse is going to be competitive, and I love Luis Saez getting aboard. And again, if I think Super Chow is vulnerable, it's good but vulnerable, I want these kind of horses here, and I don't want the 3 who's clearly second choice on the board. That's just also doesn't like to win. Yeah,
I agree with you here on Avant Glory. We need a Roddy Rod, Rudy Rod match race. Get like 3 from each barn because Rudy Rod is also RR Rodriguez too. So it'd be all the RR Rodriguez's, but you wouldn't know which one's trained by which one unless you looked.
And we'll get Durkin out of retirement, and he'll call it. And the winner trained by RR.
You need like a pirate barn for these guys. Look, Avant Glory makes sense for me. I mean, I like the fact that Saez picks up the mount. I think that's an upgrade over Gonzalez. I think the horse is probably a cut below, but if for some reason the 5 horse doesn't make the lead, I think the 1 is the one that does. And so to me, this is kind of the backup speed here, especially from the rail, especially with Saez, who's going to be pretty aggressive. Horse is also bred well to really like the slop. Kozan out of Adios, Charlie Mare, so should appreciate the off track. Has run on it once, didn't run that great. But that was also, I'm willing to forgive that one there versus, it was a while back, and I don't think the horse is in as good a form. So I think we'll handle the slop well too if we end up there on Saturday. So I went 1-2-5 here. Hopefully we can get it through home with the R or Delgado.
Full agreement here. 1-2-5 in the penultimate leg. So let's move on. The 5th and final race of the late pick 5 Saturday, December 16th at Gulfstream Park. It is the feature race. It is the H. Allen Jerkens Handicap. It is supposed to go long. We just don't know which surface. And actually, ironically, last year, Mike, this race also rained off the turf. Instead of going 2 miles, it's now 1 mile and 5/8 on the synthetic. And the defending champion is your 2-1 favorite on the rail, Value Engineering. But who is your top pick here?
Well, okay, I'm assuming we're going to be on synthetic.
Yes.
And there's one horse in here I would use on turf that I'm not using on synthetic. So we'll talk about that in a second. Topic for me is going to be the 5 horse, 6 minus 10-1 in this spot. Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, pretty good connections. Y'all know him. This is a horse that has had success going long on the turf with Irad. Irad's rode this horse 3 times, 1 win, 1 second, and then a 4th in those 3 efforts. Last time out in synthetic, I thought the horse actually ran really well. Was a short favorite in a field of 10. Was wide the entire trip, made a nice closing kick, showed some interest, ends up in a blanket finish, finishes 4th, but it's neck half a length nose, and then here's 6-. So right there for Rapoli, this is a Pletcher owned horse, so I like the fact that we're moving it here. I should like the synthetic based on the way that the breeding is. The horse has 1 win, 1 second place over the synth, as well as that 4th place effort. So all those things are positive. Has a win over this specific synthetic track. Everything kind of just fits for this horse to run well. On top of it, second off the layoff, later in the 5-year-old season, you can make a case that 6-. Probably needed that race. Price is right at 10-1. I like the 5 quite a bit in here. I would still play this horse on turf, although I like it less on turf than I do on synthetic.
Absolutely. You nailed all my points. I didn't agree with you on top pick, but I do like this horse a lot here. I also really like, okay, so the commissioner of horse racing owns this horse, but also Todd Pletcher co-owns this horse, and his father, JJ Pletcher, also owns this horse, co-owns this horse. So really cool beat. Like, I don't want to, I'm really like over Mike Rapoli right now. So that side of me wants this horse to just not do anything, but I like to see the Pletchers, especially Todd's dad, get a nice win here. The horse you were talking about.
Can we talk about Mike? Can we talk about Rapoli and how he decided he's commissioner?
Can we do it after this? I don't have the patience for it. We'll do it after the sequence, and then we'll do it because I don't want to lose a bunch of.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anyways, next up, you know what? I'll talk about the horse, not my top pick, but the one you were going to mention here, and I'll send it back to you. The number 4 F5 6-1. You're getting Luis Saez to ride this horse, and this is the one Mike mentioned that if it was on turf, he was definitely going to want to use, because you look at the first 3 turf starts this horse had, which began back in April. Almost wins gate to wire at Keeneland going 1 1/8 in the spring meet. Super hard to do, especially off of a long layoff. Then came back at Churchill Downs. Had a runaway early leader that stopped halfway through the race, so he basically went gate to wire. He thinks he went gate to wire, going 11 furlongs at Churchill there. Came back, wins at 9 furlongs at Ellis Park. And then, the River City, it didn't go well for him, but he didn't have a great trip. I also really don't like the fact that James Graham, who'd been aboard him for 3 races and sent him to the front for 3 races, said, no, we'll let 4 other horses go in front of him here this time. That's a smart decision. So we get rid of him. We put Luis Saez on, and we say, hey, Luis, go to the front. And off he goes.
Yeah, and Luis will go to the front, and there's no other speed in here. I mean, so this is one of those where, like, if we are on turf, I think the 4 is a horse you have to use. You don't even really have a choice. You got to include the 4 because you're going to be lone speed with Saez, with a horse that has run very well on the turf. You could even make a case that even with the way the synthetic plays, you could still use the 4 here, because this is one of those spots where they're going to be going slow enough that you could see enough of a kick that the 4 is able to hold on. But yeah, I
see it too. The chat is having so much fun with Rapoli. That's why we said wait on Rapoli, because it just goes off the rails.
It explodes. So the 4 F5, one of those that I would use on turf. I didn't include on synthetic. If you want to add him in, I don't hate the idea of adding him in. In fact, maybe I'll even add him in and kick out the 8 here, because I don't love the 8 and the price isn't great. But the 4 it's a very dangerous horse over the turf course. Second pick for me, I went to the inside. The 1 Value Engineering won this race last year when they went onto the synthetic from the turf, and had a very nice race last time out, or had a synthetic try last time out, but it was a first off the layoff for a 7-year-old who clearly needed the race. When you watch the race, you just like, okay, this is just a gallop to set up race X, and this is race X that was setting up once you see where he comes back. So I think it's all systems go, and we're going to get the old Value Engineering back. Another one where if you look through it and you're like, hey, how do Jose Ortiz do with this horse? Oh, 2 wins in a second in 3 starts, all at Gulfstream, 2 on the turf course going long, 1 on the synthetic in this race last year, which got scratched off and would go that distance again. So you got to respect Ortiz when he's on this horse. You've got to think Maker has this horse ready second off a layoff. So I'm going to go the 2 Ortiz brothers on top here, 5 and then the 1.
This was the last horse I added onto my ticket. I was trying to beat him again with the way that I had structured everything. I kept looking at this and going, yeah, but that Turfway Park, almost said Turf Paris, that Turfway Park synthetic race last out, the whole point of that was to get him ready just for the Gulfstream Park Championship meet.
Yep.
The fact that he only lost by a length to Red Knight at that point in that big string with Jose riding him too. It's all good. So yeah, I'm with you on Value Engineering begrudgingly, but you got to use him, I think. My top pick, the number 3 Swore at 12-1, and this was Aaron Halchman's top pick on Blinkers Off too. So when he said it, I went, so either we're both in for a big world of hurt, or we're both onto something here. This horse broke the maiden going 1.5 miles at Kentucky Downs. It was a little late to get going, but that's okay. We're not going to harm you for that. You weren't meant for the Derby anyways. And motion is always, like he was quoted as saying, I've always thought the farther the better for this horse. And you look at how he's campaigned the horse, only ever been at least a mile. T-Gaff rides for the 3rd time, and the 2 times he rode before, horse was 3rd by a neck at Saratoga in the summer. Got moved up by a DQ, and then broke the maiden stylishly at Kentucky Downs. Last time out, I think he probably ran a little wide. It just wasn't a great race for him. I'm trying to forgive him for that Backwood bummer. It was also first time versus winners. I think he's better suited for this, and going that 2 mile or mile and 5/8, whatever, however far he goes, I think T-Gaff is the right jockey to pilot him.
Yeah, I mean, Broken Vow, not a bad synthetic sire either. So 15%, a little bit better. I think 12%, something like that, 13%, if I remember correctly, on the turf. Cool. So right in that range, 15% on synthetic. So that's a positive here. He can handle both surfaces. I looked at this horse for a while. I just couldn't get there. And I just, the last race, the thing with me in that Kentucky Downs race is that is a field of 12, and this horse was 1-2. How often do you see 1-2 horses in a field of 12 at Kentucky Downs? It's not common.
No. He also won by 4 lengths and destroyed him, so he won the way he's supposed to. But yes, I understand your point. Like, this horse was meant to, like, this is an anomaly that day.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like if that it's odd that like I'm holding that against the horse. If the horse was 4-1 and wins by 4, I'm like, oh, that's a great performance, But the fact that you're the favorite, I'm like, okay, you did what you were supposed to do. Now you're 15-1. Are you gonna do what you're supposed to do again? Because if that's the case, you're in a little bit of trouble. But I don't hate this horse as a long shot, and again could take the synthetic pretty well as well because of the breeding. I mean, Ghost Zapper on the bottom, also a good synthetic sire. So has synth on the top and the bottom. So don't hate this one at a price, and wouldn't try and talk you off it. I discredited that race 2 back more than I probably should have, and then obviously you and Aaron did. So that's why I ended up away from the 3 here. 3rd pick for me, the 7 horse, Catch That Party. Joe Bravo, Mike Maker. Again, love me some Maker going long. It's always been a positive for him. This is a horse that when you look at the kind of the routes that we've seen on turf, the horse likes going further. And I thought we saw that specifically in the last 2 races at Saratoga. Ran into a tough field last 2 at Saratoga 2 back, but the last race at Backwood, $100,000 N1X allowance, goes out there and I thought ran really, really well. That's the longest this horse has gone in its career at 1 mile and 3/8. I thought that was the best race we've seen from this horse in their career. I think it's interesting that at 6, Maker decides to bring this one back and run it long on the Gulfstream turf here or synthetic, depending on what we get. More Than Ready, talked about that one before. That's a very good, another sire that does well on both turf and synthetic. And I've been watching Bravo. Like, I'm pretty happy with how he's been riding at that meet. Like, I liked Bravo when he was in California. I thought he was one of the sneaky guys, especially on the turf course that you could play at Santa Anita and at Del Mar. He's riding well in this colony as well. So I don't mind taking Bravo with a little bit of a price here at 8-1.
I looked at this horse and couldn't get there, but Joe Bravo, when he left, I was at California. I was like, oh, we're losing Joe Bravo. He's going to Gulfstream. All right, whatever. And then, yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing okay so far. And he's a talented turf rider and a veteran. So didn't get to this horse, but it's a Maker going long. And you're going to get 8-1 versus, 6-5 on value engineering when he goes off. So,
yep.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
I was going to say, do you want to talk about the other Maker in here? Shouty, who I feel like we talked about a million times.
You read my mind. I had my mouse hovered over this comment waiting to go, and you threw right to it. Yeah, Maker was shoddy with our friend Shoddy in the chat. So this is really great. What do you think about? I mean, no, this horse hasn't been competitive in a long time in a spot like this, but maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Maker.
It's good. I can't get there. It feels like they just put this horse in over its head a lot. You know what I mean? And it's tough for me to think that we're going to be able to turn the tables on value engineering based on the last 2 races we saw at Gulfstream Park.
How did this horse earn $300,000? What did this horse win that got? Oh, the $105,000. Oh, that's why. Back-to-back $100,000 plus allowances. That's why.
Ran like consistently, got paychecks too in those, because even before that ran 3rd in 92,000, then ran 3rd in 115, then 2nd in 115, then won 105. Like, you get some paychecks just from going through those type of races. Made over $180,000 that 1 year.
This horse really the bad races are whenever this horse goes to stakes. When this horse is in the allowance, all those races that we've been listing off, those are competitive. It's just a spot like this isn't going to be where I think we want to play this. But listen, for Shoddy, if this, how does this horse win? If it wins and knocks us out, Shoddy, we'll be happy for you, I guess. Just make sure you put money on it if that happens.
One of those horses where, like, if you want to talk me into playing underneath and like tries, I think I could make a case for that. But it's hard to think that this horse is going to be able to win. And the problem is, this horse ripped through all its allowance levels. I mean, what N3X allowance is Shoddy going to win in New York? Right? I mean, those are pretty tough races when it's 80K N3X. And so it's like, it's tough to figure out where to put this. I will say this. If you want to make a case for Shouty, the case is Mike Baker took over for this horse. Two back, right? Jorge Abreu was training before that. And if Mike Baker is still keeping this horse in stakes races, he thinks that there's something there, especially going long. And he's, again, a very, very good long on the turf trainer.
Yep. Yeah, there could be something there. It's just not gonna be for us, but if you like Shoddy, what we're saying is don't take Shoddy off just because of us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna use the 4. I talked myself into it. I'm using the 4 F5 instead of my last horse. I was gonna use the 8 McLovin, who 5-2 on the morning line. I didn't realize we were gonna get 5-2 because I handicapped this before the prices. I thought we were gonna get a better price than that, and I think the horse is logical. The horse makes sense. But at the price, like, really, the second choice, I'm not interested there. So I'm going to switch from the 8 to the 4. So I'll use the 4 F5 in mine.
I'm going to look it up right now. Is this horse jumping last time? Fairhill is a jump track, but I don't know if they do flat. Oh, it's the only flat race that they have.
Yeah, it was a flat race.
Interesting. Okay.
It was a flat race that was untimed. And so you look at that race and you're like, okay, well, the horse can handle 2 miles, but you don't get any information around it. And the horse was even money. And I have no idea who any of the other horses in that race were. So that's probably not a wonderful thing. The horse also went gate to wire in that race, essentially gate to wire in that race, and has never been near the lead before. So it's like, how much credence am I willing to put into a race, which is untimed? I know no one from it. It was a stakes race. And the horse did something different than his normal style. Like, to me, that there's just too much to then be like, oh yeah, the horse totally deserves to be 5-2.
The one case you could possibly make, we're back in the Arnie Delacour barn. This horse was with Delacour twice, won both of them. So maybe, but that was the main win, the allowance win. That was early 2022. So lots changed since then.
Yes, a lot has changed since then. It was a favorite in one of those, was a short price in the other one. Honestly, the 1.5 mile Keeneland, that's not terrible to win that race. I mean, Hard Rye Guy, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right horse, had a decent career off that too. So, and faced Soldier Rising the next time out at Belmont and ran pretty well there. So it, faced me and Mr. C, who was a very, very good synthetic horse here at Gulfstream, and then started to rip off actual stakes wins on other courses as well at Indiana Grand and Ellis Park there. So I understand why McLovin is a horse that you could use. It's the 5-2 price when I see it, where I'm like, well, I can get 6-1 on a different horse. I'm just not willing to take half the price on this horse, especially when I'm using value engineering, who's going to be the favorite in here.
Well, that's going to do it for the handicapping portion of the Magic Mike Show. We'll give out our tickets one last time. We'll take a look down below if you're watching our video content here. By the way, hit like if you can before you leave. For the podcast listeners, we'll read them out for you one last time. I'll start. I'm going to single the 2. Then I'm going to go 6-7-9 with 3-7 with 1-2-5 with 1-3-4-5. That's $72 for $1 base, Mr. Somich.
I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket, and it'll also cost you $72. I'm going 2-5 with 1-6-7 with 1-3-7 with 1-5 with 1-4-5-7. So $72 for 50 cents.
Boom. There it is. All right. Mike, what is going on with Mike Rapoli?
Well,
I mean, this guy, in the last few months, it's just spiral.
Well, it's okay. I don't mind what he did. And I will at least give him props that he put money where his mouth is and hired people and built something up to say, okay, we're going to try and change things in horse racing. But who in their right mind goes on Twitter to your followers and then says, am I commissioner? Yes or no? If you do that on Twitter and you lose, if more people vote no, you're doing something wrong, because no one likes you in that case, right? To me, it just made no sense. Okay, this is how I'm just going to self-proclaim. I don't love anyone who self-proclaims himself anything, but to say this is the election, I am now commissioner of horse racing. It's okay, dude. You might as well have just said, I'm commissioner of horse racing and started doing it. And I would have respected that more than having a fake poll on Twitter, which, by the way, you totally would not have not done this anyway, had that been a no vote instead of a yes vote. He also was threatened to quit 4 times. And I'm kind of over people threatening to quit and then continuing to do something, because they're trying to use them getting out of it as leverage versus just, continuing on and saying, okay, I don't like how this is. Let's figure out how we can change that. So, yeah.
There are a lot of things that Mike Rapoli does that are really great for this sport.
Agreed on that.
Aftercare donations, his backstretch worker, like the amount of money that and he's got a lot of money, but he puts a lot of money into the sport, not just in the horses, like the people, like the backstretch workers, the chaplaincy associations of New York. He does a lot of great things.
What he did for the backstretch at Belmont was phenomenal. I don't know if you saw the story that they did on that, but he put it in a school there. He did a phenomenal job for the backstretch at Belmont. And he's done a lot of really good things for horse racing. It's just this one irks me.
Right, and that's the thing. I think I started this off on, but it's just currently Mike Rapoli seems to be spiraling pretty bad. But he does a lot of great things and he has great ideas. You know what he's doing? I don't know if you even remember this, but Aaron, if he's still watching, he's become Luch 2.0. You remember Ron Palucci way back when you and I started this show? Yep. And Luch was a freaking maniac on Twitter. And now what Luch was doing, Rapoli hasn't even come close to, but he's starting to approach Luch levels here. And Luch was somebody who 80 million times like, I quit. I can't do it. I'm not going to do this. And no, this is terrible. And then 2 days later, he's back, or he's spending a bunch of money. So,
you know what I wished he would do? Like, okay, if you want to be commissioner of horse racing, I wish you would actually act like a commissioner, and then you have to. But to do that, think about every other major sport, right? Every single team is owned as a private entity. None of them are public companies, so none of them have to report to a board of directors. None of them have the stock price to worry about. If someone wanted to do this right, you go and you buy CDI, you buy Naira, you buy Stronach Group, and you make it 8 tracks, and you privatize those 8 tracks. Each one has a single owner, and then those 8 tracks sign jockeys, sign trainers to contracts that they can run at those places, so they get paid. Whether or not they win or not, they get paid. But you cannot run at those tracks if you're not signed on. And then all of a sudden, you control everything because all the takeout would be the same. All of the different race times you choose because you're owning all of those places, and you create a privatized horse racing. And then you're able to have standardized rules. You're able to have standardized takeout. You're able to control what the suspensions are because you have a single commissioner who then has the ability to suspend trainers, suspend jockeys. Like, it makes it so much easier to police the sport if you privatize it. The problem is no one wants to step up and buy the 10 most expensive racetracks in America to be able to privatize it and actually make it flourish. Yeah, and that it is Fantasyland. It's complete Fantasyland. That's actually how you fix the problem. If anyone wants to try and fix the problem, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it is. And I think he's coming from a good part. Like, at least we want to believe. It seems like he's coming from a really good place with what he's trying to do. It's the execution and the planning or lack thereof. Like, if he creates this, National Thoroughbred Alliance or Commission or whatever the hell it was called, and he hires Pat Cummings, super smart guy in the world of horse racing from a business perspective, trying to understand and improve it. And you have the Horse Racing Symposium, which is kind of a joke to most of us anyway, but it's supposed to be about making change, and neither of you go there or even attempt to go there. It's hard for me to believe that you want to make change and you tweet out about we all have to work together. If you're not working with anybody and you're not making the effort, you're not showing yourself. Like, you show yourself all over Twitter. You'll put yourself out there 1,000,000 times, and your echo chamber and all your friends and all your followers that are, yeah, we love it. Yeah, go Mike, go. That's such a tiny little percentage of the world of horse racing. And horse racing is such a tiny little percentage. So it just gets ridiculous when this stuff happens with Mike Rapoli. The idea is there, just your execution, like everything in horse racing, your execution sucks balls.
Well, but I will say, good on him for hiring Pat Cummings, because that is someone who it's
very smart idea.
Yeah, very smart man who knows the industry very, very well, and he's who's paying that salary? Mike Rapoli. So you got to give him credit for that at least, right? Like, he's putting the money toward it. But it's just, I wish that I wish that Fantasyland could exist, and you could actually, with one swoop, make it so that you can fix the sport, but it's not possible.
Okay, so Curtis Mellon, this will be the last thing we'll bring up. Curtis Mellon says it's only a matter of time before Rapoli tries to run an unraced horse in the Breeders' Cup. Would you believe Mike Rapoli would try to do that? With Todd Pletcher, you think he would try and force Pletcher to run an unraced horse in a Breeders' Cup race? Because that's what Luch tried to do. He got pissed off at the Breeders' Cup and threatened to quit once because the Breeders' Cup said, "This horse has never touched the ground. We don't care if it's not a full field. You're not racing a maiden, unraced horse in the damn Breeders' Cup."
I wouldn't be shocked if he tried it. Like, it would be hard. Like, it's never going to work, right? Like,
right. But he would try it and then throw a giant stink about it, threaten to quit, and show up 2 days later at the sales.
But like, he would totally throw a maiden in there. And I wouldn't even say there's anything wrong with that, right? Like, if, because, yeah. He totally threw a maiden in there.
14's got a fourth leg. It's just not where the broken one's supposed to be.
Yeah. Whoa.
TaylorMade's going to find that out soon. Anyways, thank you, everybody, for joining us with this, for talking about the big stuff, and, of course, for joining us for the Gulfstream Park Late Pick 5 on Saturday, December 6th. That's what the show was to start. But, of course, Mike Rapoli, as he does, interjects himself in everything. I do want to thank everybody for joining us. It was a lot of fun. We've got the weekend. We've got the Springboard Mile on Friday, which is Aaron's one of his favorite races of the year. Preview for that over at racingnews.com. And if you haven't yet, check out Trivia Tuesday. It's something that we just started this past week. It's all about the Springboard Mile. Aaron competed against John Lee. So see how you do 10 questions plus a bonus at the end with trivia about the Springboard Mile. That's over on the YouTube channel. And of course, check out Blinkers Off. They covered all the stakes action this weekend. And if you want some football, you can do Dudes Who Bet Sports, Aaron and Papa Dude, covering the bowl games, every NFL game. Or you can just tune into VSiN, because this guy right here, he's pretty good at football too, Mike.
Yeah, we had a weekend last weekend. 11, 2, and 1 in the NFL last weekend. So that's not so bad.
So, wait,
we're trying.
When you said that hang on, so we didn't have a show Monday because Mike was like, "I'm stuck in Vegas, my flight got delayed." No, you went 11, 2, and 1 on your NFL bets, and you were so hungover you'd just woken up and missed your flight. That's what happened.
I actually wasn't even that hungover. I mean, it was
that.
Yeah, that. No, yeah, but we ended up with the 3:00 flight back, and I was on VSiN for like an hour waiting for my flight from like 1 to 1 or 12:30 to 1. So you can go see me. I was playing. They actually. Oh, this is great. Great job, Magic, for bringing this up. They have a game called. Oh man, now I got to remember the name of it. It's a game where you put quarters into it, and it's horse racing.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The D. I don't know if they still have it, but the D.
They do. Okay, it's called Sigma Derby 4000.
Yes.
And you have
love that.
You have to actually get quarters from the quarter machine.
Yes.
And then you drop the quarters in, and then you pick each quinella has odds. So there's 5 horses. You can play the 1, 2, the 1, 3, the 1, 4, the 1, 5, the 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, so on and so forth. It was an absolute blast to be able to play that game. So total, like a lot of fun. And I ended up being there. I put $5 in. I played for an hour and walked out with $46. I think you can totally game it because, like, if you understand horse racing, you can tell who the favorite is based on the odds of all the horses. And then you can tell who the second favorite is and the third favorite is based on the odds of that horse with the other horses, right? And then you can come up with, there's Sigma Derby. It's still in the D. You can go there. You can play it. You actually put little quarters into it. And then those you can see the odds there.
D. This is literally at the D casino.
Yes. And it's like this old school racing game. Absolutely a blast. They serve you drinks while you're playing this. And you can be playing 25 cents every 30 seconds, which means that like it'd be the cheapest way to drink in Vegas is this machine right here, because you could just sit there forever and just play this thing for 25 cents and you're going to hit a couple here and there. But yeah, my hour was profitable and I was surprised by it because I did not think I would be able to be profitable playing this game. I figured you're definitely going to lose, but it was a lot of fun. So definitely go check out Sigma Derby at the D if you're ever in town. I know someone.
Someone's going to Vegas this weekend, actually. So, yeah. Maybe Mr. Aaron Haltman will head over to the D and check this out. Curtis Mello in the chat says, I blacked out and blew hundreds of dollars on Sigma Derby at a bachelor party a few years ago. That's... How many quarters were you putting in the machine? I mean...
Well, you can play up to 10 quarters on any combination. So $2.50 per combination. I was playing $1 a race and just picking one and putting $1 on it, and like picking anywhere from 10 to 1 to 20 to 1, and I hit like 19 to 1. I hit a 12 to 1, hit an 11 to 1, right? So you hit a couple of them and you're golden there. But yeah, you could, like, there were people that were dropping, like, I will say $5 to $7 a race that were just dropping the quarters in. But the best part is that when you win, you can hit the cash out button and all the quarters actually come out, and you're and then you get to put the quarters in a little bucket, and then you can drop the quarters in for the next race. You're not like playing a slot machine where you don't actually get the quarters. I liked the sound. I liked, I thought that was definitely a fun part of it. So yeah, Sigma Derby, the D, definitely a lot of fun. Aaron Halterman, I'll be seeing you this weekend, although I'm still trying to figure out where our dinner reservation is going to be because everywhere's freaking booked. But we may end up downtown just so we can all go play Sigma Derby after.
I was gonna put this video up. I'm so happy you talked about this because I love it. And this is how it looks. Like they're really ratchety. Like it looks super old school.
It is janky. It is like, and it's funny too because you can tell. So we're like, you can see the racer. You can tell who's going to make a move when they're turning for home because that horse starts moving faster back and forth. So we'll see. Oh, they covered the horses, so you can't see. But right about now, you're going to start to see like the closers are going to start. This blue 4-horse here. There you can see like starting to go and like so who's going to make a move. It's a lot of fun to root for too.
So right there you got 2-1 on the 2-4 exacta, and it's a box, right? It's not you don't have to go
Quinella.
Cold.
Yeah,
sorry, Quinella, thank you.
Yes.
Forgot that's a word too that we haven't used. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Next time you're in Vegas, go check it out. The sounds are awesome. Everything about this game is so fun. So hopefully, if you're in Vegas, hopefully Mike and Aaron, you guys can make this work. If you do, we need some video content because that would be amazing. Just like every one of you was amazing for sticking with us. We got to get out of here because we're cutting into Dudes Who Bet Sports time. So sorry about that. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike. I like the Chargers, Raiders under 34.5, Gerald Everett over 29.5 receiving yards, and Robert Spillane over 8.5 tackles plus assists tonight.
Go watch Dudes Who Bet Sports. Bye.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.